And what animal do you think this is that they're looking at? I told you about it earlier. The moose, yeah. Except it's a dead moose. Each moose that they checked had 60 to 90,000 ticks per moose. And the reason it died was what? Lack of blood. They drained a millimeter every tick. And do that 90,000 ticks, I mean, you're not going to have enough blood to survive. And the calves, they said in Maine, half of the calves have died in the last, every year or so many years. I don't know how long they did the study. Yeah, and this is showing you the tick again. There's a western and an eastern. The western is out in California, but the eastern is the one that we have, the deer tick. And you can see the four sizes. They start as a larva from the egg, then they're the nymph, which is the most dangerous because they're so small, and they can bite you and transmit, and then the male and the female. Yeah, there we go. There's your deer tick and the dog tick compared. And there's a comparison of three different ticks. Your dog tick, the black-legged tick, or the bad one, the deer tick, and the lone star tick with that white dot. And here they are again. In the center, is that a male or female? Female. It's got the apron. How about the deer tick? Is that a male or female?
Female.
Female, because it's got that red orange.
But they both transmit, correct?
Oh yeah. Yeah, but a lot of times the male ticks do not do blood meals. If they do, they just take, a short blood meal. But it's generally the female that does the most damage.
Just a quick clarification. The deer ticks are also called black-legged ticks?
Yes,
Those are interchangeable?
yes, they are.
And the Staphylococcus is the eastern and the Pacificus is the western.
Yeah, that's right. That's right. Here we see the close-up. Let me see if my pointer's working. Yeah. Here's where the eye is, between the first and second legs. It's not on like what you would call a head. All that is the mouth. And I'll show you a close-up of the mouth. Notice that right there is a point. And that point is what goes into your skin. And let's see that. Thought I had that guy down. Guess I didn't put it there. But yeah. On the left side, the third word is hematophagus. It says hematophagus. Hematophagus. What does that mean?
Eat blood.
Yep, that they are only eating blood. And you'll have a professor later on in your course that will tell you several other animals that have that same idea that that's their only food. And let's see what else. The shield is made of chitin. That's the same stuff your fingernails are made of. And the male, his is only near what we call the head. But I'm just the opposite. The male has the whole back top of his body is made of that hard cutin system. That the female, she has to expand her back to take in blood, so she can't have that hard surface on her back. There's the close-up. The needle-like is at the very top. The hypostome is the pump and the tube that draws the blood in. And then on the right, you can see the chelicera, which are really like saw blades backwards, and they are what holds them in your skin. It's really hard to pull them out because of those. Now there it shows you the chelicera again, a little saw-like business. And here's one that has ends in you a little bit, and he has special tools that help him get your blood. He has it when he spits into your skin. He has an anticoagulant that keeps the blood flowing. He has an analgesic that numbs your skin, so you don't even know he's there because it's numb. And he immune suppressant, so your body doesn't start getting real red right there. And a glue-like cement around the outside that holds him in there. Quite a deal. And then when he's ready to leave, he has something that loosens the glue cement, the liquid that he uses. And the female will be there 3 to 5 days. On the right, there's an African species that has eyes on the front. And the question they list is, what's the primary vector for Lyme disease? Does anybody know what that is? At least in Indiana?
Deer tick.
Well,
Mice?
yes. It's the mice, yeah. Okay. That's a little joke there. There he is. The mouse carries 300 to 400 ticks. And the eggs, 3,000. And this is the best chart I found on the life cycle of a deer tick. They actually live generally 2 years. Well, if they don't get a blood feed the second year, they'll go to a third year. And I'm a little worried this year we've had a mild winter. So I've got a feeling this spring that we're going to have a lot of ticks.
I had friends over in Ohio hiking 2 days ago and pulled some off.
They already found them.
Yeah,
Well, if it's above 38 degrees generally,
and it was.
up to 40, they can be out,
Yeah.
definitely. And they're hungry. So you see, the meal one is when it goes from the larva state to the nymph state. It's their first meal in the summer. Then in the fall, the nymph sort of goes dormant, and he'll overwinter under the leaves. And then in springtime, which we're at now, it says 45 degrees there, but the latest research said 38 degrees. So that's changing a little bit. And then they get their second meal because the nymph is going to turn into an adult. And then they're in the second year now. The adult has its meal, lasts 3 to 7 days getting that blood. And then they overwinter again and lay eggs in the spring, and it starts all over again. That's the white-footed mouse. In Indiana, although just this year they're changing that, and they're saying it's not just the mouse. There's another little mouse creature. I'm trying to think.
A vole.
It's close to a vole. Shrew. The shrew is coming up and also taking a place for the home of the tick.
So an adult tick will only eat once?
An adult tick, you're right, because they eat once and that's it. because then she has to have the blood to lay her eggs. She needs those, the blood meal. Okay. And this is just telling you who's infected. The larva, when the eggs, when those eggs are laid, they do not carry the germ, the bacteria. So the larva doesn't have the bacteria until it eats. But as soon as it gets that first blood meal, it molts and it becomes a nymph. And then it can, and it says B. burgdorferi, that's the name of the bacteria. Borrelia burgdorferi. And by the month you can see June and July are the worst, although it starts in February. And this year, I'm sure by March, that number will be a lot higher because it's been so warm. And this is interesting. Why are the 5 to 9-year-olds almost the same as the 60 to 69-year-olds? Why would that be?
Grandparents and kids out.
Yeah, the grandparents are out there retired and walking around in the woods. And the little kids, they don't, know they've got ticks. They don't think about it. And they're close to the ground. And most of the ticks, believe it or not, are, especially the nymphs, are only grass that's only about 6 inches to 8 inches tall. So they're right down there with them. Why would good acorn deers lead to more deer ticks? What do acorns have to do with ticks? You have every 3 years you have a big acorn crop. There'll be more ticks than that next year. What eats the acorns? Squirrels and
Deer.
possibly deer, yeah. Yeah, they do.
Mice.
Mice, yeah. The mice. And so you can see it in the picture on the right. The mouse comes in for those, and the deer come in for those. So you got all these animals that carry the ticks around. Questing, they have 8 legs, of course, and the front 2, they go out on the end of a blade of grass, and they wave those back and forth. They know that you're coming way before you even are near there, because they have tremendous senses of smell. And the response to gravity, when they get on there, they're geotropic, and they'll always go, up. If you put them in a jar, and you turn the jar upside down, they'll go up. That's just what they always do. And the same thing, if they get on your pants leg, they're going to go up till they find some bare skin. There's one climbing. Yeah, see, there he is going to the tip. Now he's waving his arms. Come on, people.
Ticks are very sensitive to dryness. Their bodies desiccate easily, and in dry weather they hide deep in mossy crevices on the barks of trees, or in the leaf litter, or in wood rat nests. Damp weather, however, makes them more active, and they come out and stand around the tips of branches and blades of grass by trails like hitchhikers at a freeway on-ramp. Oh.
Now here's a biologist that's dragging a net behind him. I did this out at Eagle Marsh looking for ticks, and it works pretty well if you have a white, because the tick will show up on there. And this is another way. You notice that smoke coming off? Do you have any idea what that might be? Dry ice. Well, why would they put dry ice in there? CO2, exactly. Remember I told you the tick has senses that are so well tuned, that when you breathe, you give off carbon dioxide, and they smelled that, and look at them going up that part of that inside there is double-sided carpet tape, and they drilled holes in the bottom too. So it made a good tick trap. Oh, and this other guy, he found 5,000 within 3 meters of where he put his trap down. Wow, that's a lot of ticks.
This is a deer tick nymph. This is the second stage. They'll feed on a host for 5 days maybe, and that's how Lyme disease is transmitted. I mean, it just doesn't seem possible that this poppy seed size thing is going to make you bedridden, possibly for the rest of your life. Now we're trying for a deer tick female. That'll complete the trinity. And here we
Okay, let's go on. Here's a close-up of their leg, and this is interesting. They use hydraulics. Let's see if I can demonstrate this. These are the legs, the fingers, and if you, they can compress their shell and push it down, and when they press on that, their legs move, and they can control, I guess, which leg is going to be moving. But that's how it is. It's a hydraulic system by pressing on the top and the bottom of their shell. So I thought that was interesting, the way they do that. They had fluid canals, yeah. I think I've got one of them that's actually moving. Let's see, maybe it's not that one, but you can see the claw on the end. There, it's moving, okay. That's how they grab onto the blade of grass, and how they latch onto your sweater with that little hook. Let's see if I can skip one. You know, somebody's talking about Ricky Kimmery. He wrote an article about it too, and these were just all different indications that the tick problem is increasing. And then, remember I talked about the senses, how good they were. Well, they have a special organ. It's called the Howler's organ on their leg. And it detects body heat, CO2, lactic acid, movement, air currents, shapes, smells. That's a fantastic organ to do all those things. So that's why he was waving his front legs, because he was picking up the senses. That's just another picture of it close up. This is a good sign, but it doesn't always happen. 60% of the time, if you're bitten by the tick, the deer tick, you will get a target like these. It says it doesn't itch, it burns a little bit. That's because the spirochetes are being fought by your immune system. And it says since 1883 in Germany, they have records that show people talking about this red target. So the tick's been around. Even, I think there was one, oh yeah, there was, in 1888 they had a cat that had died, and they preserved it for some reason. And in 1995, they did a full exam of that cat and found out that it had Lyme disease, or the tick anyway, that caused it. So that's weird. And there it is, the spirochete bacteria. It's like a little jagged guy. They can go deep in your body. Takes 100,000 of them to make 1 inch of space.
We didn't know how to treat it. It was a newly described term. It looked like syphilis under the microscope, but that's as far as we got. We also didn't have any idea how widespread it was, how much suffering it caused, and controversies to come.
A lot of controversies.
Lyme disease is caused by bacteria, the Borrelia spirochete. It's spiral shaped, so it can drill through tissue and get into just about any part of the body. The most common form of transmission is through the bite of several species of tick, commonly known as deer ticks.
There's bacteria inside the tick, so when it bites you, it just starts sucking up your blood. Like vacuum. While it's like sucking in the blood, the bacteria will be released, and then it just gets into the blood, and it gets into your heart, and then your brain.
And it pushes the water that's in the blood back out again into your body. That's where the germs come in. Okay, I'll go through these quickly. This was an older one. But you can see, they're saying 300,000, and this was like 10 years ago. Now it's the latest from CDC is 476,000 a year cases in the US, so it is increasing. And this shows where the worst cases are in the red for the eastern black-legged, and then the green over by California is the black-legged tick down there where they're established. And you can notice Indiana had a few in '98, but by 2015, 2/3 of our state was covered with it. And this is another one. I was keeping track for a while there. Every year I would add on another number. Ohio in 4 years went up 190%. Indiana in 3 years went up 115%. So it's definitely a problem.